Hey guys, so this is my kind of 3-year update after purchasing my first home at the age of 26 as a single woman. It's crazy to think that I've been in this house for 3 years because I'm not even kidding you. It feels like I've lived here for, realistically, it feels like I've lived here for 6 months. When I think about it, I was in college for a little over 3 years. I graduated a little bit early. And when I think about that time span, it feels like so much longer of 3.5 years than 3 years has felt living in this house. I don't know what that is, if that's like a comfort thing or something, but regardless, I wanted to talk specifically about all the home repairs and all the things that have quote unquote gone wrong since I've purchased the house. Overall positive experience. I love my home, but this is kind of in reaction to like me seeing these TikTok compilations where people are like, oh my God, I bought a 1,000 square foot house and it's like my mortgage is $5,000. Like, and I didn't know this was gonna happen and my inspection was horrible. I didn't know about all these issues I was gonna have. So for further context, my house was constructed in the 80s. It's a 2-story house. My home is very nice, but it isn't new by any means and it isn't old by any means. Before I break down every repair that I've had, so I've kind of broken it down into 2 lists. One is like the involuntary repairs that had to be done that were over a price point of $500. And then the other repairs, you know, are things that I did because I wanted to. They were completely voluntary, cosmetic, that sort of thing. Some of the bigger ones are cosmetic as well, negotiable. I can explain that in further detail, like gutters I got installed, for example. But before hopping into the exact prices for all of that and everything I had to get done, which you can skip here if you want to just see that, I wanted to talk about a couple of important things very quickly. I was blessed and put in position in a lot of ways to where the people who worked with me in purchasing my home, it all worked out for my good, thank God. So basically talking about the home inspection, a lot of people in these videos talk about how I foregoed, or is that the right way of putting it? Bruh. They basically didn't do a home inspection because they were kind of fighting to get a property. And I don't think I mentioned this before. I purchased my home in January of 2022. So I kind of missed that really terrible bubble of everyone fighting for homes because nobody was moving. And I also got a really good interest rate, and it has not been that low since I purchased my house anywhere in the country. The first biggest thing is the home inspection. I was moving from one city to another city to move into this home. And so unfortunately, I wasn't able to be present at the house when the home inspection happened. Typically, depending on who you work with, which the person could be suggested by your realtor, or you can hire someone or hire multiple. You can get multiple home inspections. Thank God the guy who did it for me, he was suggested by my realtor, which a lot of people they try to get you to not do that because they say your realtor's just trying to get the house sold. So they could have their inspector buddy come in and give you kind of like a inspection where they're not really disclosing the extent of potential damage or things that will be a problem in the near or distant future at your household, like the roof, the hot water heater, etc., your AC unit. This guy was suggested by my realtor, but he was fantastic. I never met him, but this is how I knew he like cared. So he did my home inspection. I wasn't here because, like I mentioned, I was living in a different city. This man came to my house, did the inspection, okay? And then that night he called me. And this is why I knew he was like decent. He called me the night after he did it. He could have called me the next day. We were on the phone for like an hour and a half and he walked me through every single thing. And dare I say, like, he almost discouraged me in a way from buying a house. Y'all are gonna think I'm crazy until you hear everything, but that's what you want. You want your inspector to like discourage you. Like, I found this and this, so I don't know if it's the best. Like, if your inspector is like, your house is perfect, get another inspection or just leave. If your inspector does anything less or seems like they're rushing the process or has nothing to report, like I said, run away. Another thing is you have to know what you're willing to compromise for the mortgage that you're gonna end up paying. So if there's something that will need to be fixed, but you're okay with it not working that great for a year, 2 years, like, people don't talk about this kind of stuff enough. Like, when you move somewhere, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a house. It's a house that'll creak when the wind blows. Things are happening, you know? So if you're okay with, for example, there's some weird outlets in my house or weird light switches in my house that don't work or correspond with the things they're supposed to, I don't care, because I can like pull the latch on the ceiling fan and it'll work just fine, even though the switch won't work. Some people might think that's like a deal breaker. I do not think that. That leads into the repairs that I received. I would like to preface, when I tell you the prices that I paid for these home repairs, get multiple quotes. You are within your rights to do that. I will say, if you are getting something done with your plumbing companies for some reason always charge you a coming out fee. So if a plumber is coming and you want a quote, every time they're going to charge you like $75 to $100 as the fee for coming out to give you a quote, and then it's lumped into the total cost if you decide to go with them. So basically you kind of have to finesse that and try to see which companies might tell you over the phone what the cost will be at max or at minimum, like they have a minimum bar to hit. You don't necessarily have to seek out the mom and pop company to get a repair done to make yourself feel like, okay, this is a person I can trust, because there are bigger name companies out there that do great work. But I will say, if you search to get a repair done, skip every single contact on Google that is a sponsored or ad. Just even if it doesn't say that, do not click on the first 4 to 5 companies that pop up. I would say try to find a company that only operates in your state or the surrounding 1 or 2 states that's a little bit smaller, to where it's a little bit more trustworthy. When you work with these big companies, they do not care. They're trying to scam you. And out of the mouth of some of their own employees, people have told me they literally have trainings on how to upsell or charge you more. Like, y'all have to know that a lot of these home repair companies, they are no different than mechanic shops when you go and you just need an oil change and they're trying to tell you that your spark plugs are about to be bad, that you need this rotated, that you need a new battery, like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, and also you could have something else wrong. Obviously, I'm not talking about that. But if you know that you have one problem that needs to be fixed, don't let people encourage you to pile on things. And especially if you're a single woman, if you're somebody who's not okay with like having to be assertive with typically a man coming to your house to do a repair or give you a quote, have your male friend there, have your father there. You can have someone pretend to be your husband. It may sound trifling, but honestly, y'all, like, these men will get over on women. So it's just the truth. Okay, so working through this list of repairs, I'm gonna try to speed run it. And I'm like yelling. I'm gonna speed run it, but what I'll do is probably add text down here for context. Just if you wanna read more about it or have a question that maybe I just don't feel like talking ad nauseum about, because there's quite a few to get through. So the first thing was my roof. I paid about $5,000 for my roof, and I got a new one, I would say almost 2 years into living here. Prior to that, I had one roof repair. So it was in the meeting point between my house and another's, and it was leaking into my master bedroom. And it was like a small drip leak, and that was within the first 6 months of getting my house. That was the first issue I had, and y'all, I cried. I saw that leak happening and I was like, it's over. It's gonna be $20,000. I messed up, I shouldn't have bought the house. And it was extra scary for me because I don't know why, but like I have an attic. So in my head, I'm like, if it's dripping here, then that means that the attic's full of water. When no, it was just at the flashing point between my house and another. There was a little tiny hole from faulty installation of something from some previous contractor when I didn't live here. And it had a little hole and it was just dripping straight to my bathroom. With the roof repair in my master bathroom, that was $250. The roof was a pretty decent price because luckily my house is tall rather than wide, so there was less roof to cover. And the reason why I got the whole roof replaced is when I got my second roof leak. So I have a sunroom that I'm currently sitting in, and part of my sunroom, like after a storm, it started leaking water through. It was like dripping water on my printer and everything. And so I worked with a company, and this is where I want to introduce something to you all. When you work with a company where people are coming out and doing a big job on your house, whether it be on the interior or exterior of your home, you need to ask that company if the people who are coming out to do the repair are contracted or work and employed with the company. If you don't know what that means, I will compare it to my gutter situation. With the roofers, They came out to my house all sweet and friendly, and they always try to dupe you because they send like this buttoned up person to your house. And then when my roof was getting repaired, that guy was nowhere in sight, even though he made it seem like he was going to be an essential person to the process. And everyone fixing my roof, not a single person spoke any English. I'm not offended by people not being able to speak English. I wish that I could speak a second language and communicate with somebody who's primarily Spanish speaking, for example. The issue was in that there were several issues that happened during the process of getting a new roof that I couldn't communicate with. I couldn't communicate those issues to the people working on my house who are currently there. So I'm calling the guy, and then he's calling the guy working on the roof, and I'm like, it's like playing telephone. I don't want to play telephone when I'm paying you over $5,000 to do a home repair. I want to be able to communicate with the person doing the job. So that's why I say, ask if they're doing contracted work. Also, the other important reason besides like a potential language barrier, that's kind of the least of the worries. The other issue is that when things aren't done right, the main company, like the company who just kind of hired these people in, every job they're sending out different people. So the quality is going to vary each time. Somebody who left a review for the company might say the people did a great job on my roof, and then I might have a terrible experience, which I did, because the people who did my roof didn't care and they were lazy. And at the end of the day, they were supposed to be done with the roof in 3 hours. It took them the entire day. I was hearing loud banging. It ruined my day. And they had to come back and fix several inconsistencies. Terrible experience. So yeah, the new roof was $5,000. And before I proceed to the next thing, which are the gutters that I got, which were $1,700. Don't freak out, that's not crazy. The juxtaposition to the roofing situation was when I got my gutters. The reason I got gutters is because I was installing a deck awning on my deck in the backyard, and I know that when it rains, the water would just kind of pour off onto the deck. So I needed gutters to kind of offset that. Also, y'all, it's good for your house to have gutters depending on where your house is sitting, because when it rains, you don't want your foundation of your house soaking up all that water and getting foundation cracks, etc. So long story short, I reached out to get new gutters, and I got the quote. I thought it was expensive, but then when I reached out to family members, it was not bad at all. And I got amazing high quality gutters. And the guy let me know when he was giving me the quote, we bring out our own people to install the gutters. They're employed by our company. They're not contracted workers. Very important. And like I mentioned, the gutters were $1,700, which both the roof and the gutters I have on a payment plan. The roof I paid for with credit card that had 0 interest on it. And the gutters, I did it with a financing company through the gutter company, and that was 0 interest for 12 months. So I'm not paying interest on these home repairs. They're fully out of pocket without the extra interest. I'm paying them down before the interest accrues. The next 2 biggest costs were my 2 pipe leaks that I've had. I've had 2 pipe leaks where they were like slow, steady drips, so nothing insane. And that's actually not true. It's been 3. My water meter in the front yard burst as well. So all of those repairs combined were $1,000. It would have been a lot more money if we didn't have a family friend who was a certified plumber, who was able to do it at a fair price rather than hiring a company that probably would have charged me double or triple, or found a way to make it seem like a bigger problem than it was. With the 2 pipe leaks in the house, aside from the 3rd water meter bursting, I consider that like a pipe leak as well, I actually would have had to pay even more money to get the drywall patch, because when they fix pipes, they have to cut the wall open. But I actually watched a YouTube video and learned how to patch drywall by myself. So I probably spent like less than $80 for all the equipment to do that, including the drywall. And if I paid someone, they probably would have charged me like $150 per hole. So I had to get a new dryer vent installed. When I would put my clothing in the dryer, I would have to dry it like for 3 cycles to get it dry. That is not normal. That is not good. So I eventually reached out to a company, and they assessed the situation. And basically, when my house was built, the dryer was never being ventilated properly. So there was all this buildup, and thank God There was never a fire for me or anyone who's lived here in the past, but they basically had to revent the whole situation, and they showed me photos and they didn't scam me. Like, they showed me exactly what the issue was, but they had to make a new vent hole in my ceiling and vented out a whole other side of my house. So it was a whole process, and honestly, I'm thankful that I only got charged $800 because they did a lot of work. They were here like all day. The biggest repair, I don't know why I didn't start off with this. This was actually something I negotiated with the sellers of the house before I signed onto the dotted line, and it was for a completely new AC unit system. So that cost was gonna be like $8,000, and they had to pay that. I was not doing it. The owners tried to sell this home multiple times, and I'm almost certain that the deal fell through because they refused to pay for the new AC unit. And I think when they got around to me making a bid towards the house, they had no other options. They had to pay for that. No one's gonna buy a new house that they know immediately has to have a $8,000 repair done to it. That's not happening. So that was done before I moved in, but there was the agreement that they were paying for like the initial estimate cost because that's what they were provided with by the company, and then whatever overage happened I would have to pay. So that came out to be like $200 extra. Another one, this is like the smallest of the big costs, but I do have an HOA in my neighborhood, and I got cited for not washing or for needing to power wash parts of my house. Most of my house is brick, but there are sections of it that are not. So I had to pay $300 for power washing, but that also included my deck. One of the most annoying projects that I had to get fixed very quickly was my front stoop. So the cement, and I'll include pictures, the cement stoop literally caved in, and it was always a little bit crackly lackly, but I was like, it's never gonna break, it's cement. Y'all, it broke, okay? So the issue I had was I couldn't find any company that would do a small cement job of just pouring in a new stoop for me. So I ended up reaching out to a handyman that I was connected with years prior from my inspector, and he actually came out and poured it for me, and that was $400. I think he overcharged me, but we're not gonna go there. He also asked me out on a date before I paid him, which I think was very tacky. Anyway. The other big thing was my pest control subscription and my termite bond. A couple of termite remnants were found around the house, so it was suggested that I get a termite bond. And the termite bond plus my yearly subscription for pest control is $600. Most recently, I had to get a new garbage disposal installed. The cost of it plus the cost of the new garbage disposal itself was about $300. There was a personal reno thing that was the highest ticket, I would say, was I paid $500 when I first purchased the house to get the most of the house painted. So the downstairs area was kind of like a cream tan off-white. I wanted everything a crisp white. So I got the downstairs painted white, and my bedroom upstairs was tomato red. I got that painted white as well. The only things I didn't get painted on the inside were the downstairs bathroom, the kitchen, because there wasn't much surface area to cover, and then the hallway of like the staircase. Other things that I've done on my own were the downstairs bathroom reno. I'll put like how much I estimate I spent on each of these things because it was so negligible, but I just wanted to mention like these were things that I felt needed to be done, but were very low cost and things that I could do on my own. So the downstairs bathroom, my upstairs master bathroom, I painted my sunroom by myself. There's a whole video I have where I'm doing that. The sunroom was green, and I love green, but not for like having light bounce off the walls, you know? My front stoop installed a new doorbell and installed a new light at the top and lights on the sides of my door. Installed a deck awning, and those were all the personal reno. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. If I am, I'll include it, you know, like in text. Y'all, I'm exhausted. I'm probably gonna cut a lot of the content down, but I've been talking forever. But I hope that this content was helpful for you. I just wanted to share my personal experience because I can talk more in another video if desired about like my mortgage and how all that worked out. But I will say that I was very conscientious about the things that needed to be fixed in my home and what I was kind of getting myself into in terms of the money I would be spending. I would say if you take anything from this video, get a really good home inspection. You can get multiple home inspections because like I said, Literally almost nothing on that list was like a surprise or unexpected. I knew it was coming and I was ready for it. So hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.